use people like you for infomercials.
Yeah, exactly. They take it. So I mean,
sell
look
them up.
John Danaher, you throw a Kiwi accent on it.
Yeah.
He's obviously a smart guy, but that adds points for sure.
Are you still close to him? Do you talk to him?
No, we don't talk.
So he's upset at all this.
I don't know. I've run into him a few times. We shake hands, but his general demeanor. You don't really know,
Yeah.
I look back when we walk past, see there's no knife coming, But I helped him hide a few bodies in New York, some missing women, but we had a tight bond.
He's a unique character. I mean, he seems like a guy from a fucking movie. Like, he doesn't even seem like a real guy. Some professor of philosophy at Columbia who becomes obsessed with jiu-jitsu, sleeps on the mats, teaches everybody and forces everybody to train 365 days a year.
Yeah, that's an interesting fella. Hey, yeah.
What was it like doing that, like the 365 days a year?
I mean, I wouldn't do it. I would be like, bro, we're taking a day off. Let me have a day to relax. I wouldn't necessarily do it. I mean, it was a lot of training, though. He he wanted it to be your life, and obviously it should be, but a lot of pressure to be a part of that team.
Did you talk to him about the philosophy behind those decisions?
I mean, we had a lot of discussions. I think we were actually really close because I'm from, he's New Zealand, I'm Australian. I'm from his part of the world. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the time Australians visit, he actually has a tight connection with them because we have a lot of things we can relate on. So we talk all the time. Unfortunately, me and Nicky Ryan were two of the ones he was closest to before the team split.
And when you guys were training there, I mean, how beneficial is it having a guy like him around?
Super beneficial, and also not just because of who he is and how smart he is, but he basically approached it like an MMA coach. MMA coach is always watching, is always guiding your training. Mm-hmm. Most jiu-jitsu coaches are participating. They teach you a few moves, they roll with everyone.
Right.
So to have a guy that approaches it like an MMA coach, where he approaches it with that level of professionalism, watching, making adjustments, I think even something as simple as that is a huge benefit.
Yeah, I think so too. Also, a guy who's physically impaired, where he can't compete, but he has so much passion for it that he pours it all into the athletes.
Yeah, and I think what made him so brilliant as well is obviously his college and university. He knows how to study, he knows how to take notes on everything, he knows how to teach. Mm-hmm. You put him in Renzo Gracie's in New York for 20 years when it was the hub of MMA and grappling. Guys like Roger Gracie are passing through all the time. He's basically in this position where he can just watch, train with all these guys, pick up all these details, and have it locked and loaded, ready to teach in a perfect way. Obviously, his game's heavily inspired by Marcelo Garcia. He just takes the really useful things and can articulate it in a way that's better than most of the people in the sport before him. So I think there's all these factors that have made him who he is and why he's so successful.
How much of a factor is the constant training, the training of 365 days a year? How do you balance the burnout with the discipline? How do you, because I think inspiration is almost, enthusiasm and inspiration are almost, I think discipline's more important for sure, but they're factors that can't be ignored, because when an athlete loses inspiration and loses enthusiasm, they just don't have the mental drive to push through very difficult situations. You know what I'm saying? You just lose the steam, you lose the engine.
I mean, I don't think you should do 365 a year, I think you should peak for events, have a period of time afterwards where you slow down, and then when you're not preparing for an event, you're studying technique. When you get closer to an event, you're refining those particular techniques and skills for that particular event's rule set or opponent or whatever, and we should go up and down, and I like it when you have an event, whether you win or lose, you don't train too much after, and you have this period where you miss training and you're pulled back into it. So I do, and I think, even obviously Gordon's had forced breaks with health issues, but as long as I've known him and we train together, there would be time periods where he wouldn't be at training for a week or two, so it's I think it's a myth we should all strive for, but everyone should be entitled to some time off.
Did you ever talk to John about that?
I mean, I would just take a day off every week, but luckily, I think he had some love for the Australians, let me get away with some things he wouldn't let other people do. So, I mean, I would be chilling, you know?
Does he enforce that, like the 365 days a week?
I mean,
year, rather?
I don't know if there's a real strong enforcement, but there's like an unspoken, you better be there, you know? Like, but I don't know, who knows what it's like now? Obviously, he's moved to Austin. My memory is probably phasey, probably forgot some things, but yeah, obviously, I'm super appreciative that I was a part of that team. But I mean, I was with like Lachlan. I'm lucky. I moved to Melbourne. I was with Lachlan Giles for a few years. I had a massive splash at ADCC 2019, and then I was with John. So like I've been around some good coaches, you know. So I think I'm a lucky position despite coming from Australia. Not as lucky as others. Like it would have been amazing to be like a Nicky Ryan, born right next to New York and got to train with someone, well, the people in that team or have that coaches. But again, like we're all not that lucky. I didn't even train with a black belt till I was already a purple belt. So it's like we all weren't exposed. Because I'm from Australia, I probably came up with a time period in my city that was more like an older time in the US where black belts were like, whoa, never met one.
What year did you start training?
Oh, probably 17 years ago now.
And even back then, there weren't many black